You look perfect.
Alright.
Yeah. Hello everybody. I said that I wanted to do this little video for you, and I'm here with my grandma. Say hi, Grandma.
Hello.
I've told her to get her hair done. But now, right, this is, it might be a little bit, I don't really know how to introduce it. I'm just going to say, should we just say one word?
What?
Well, it could be two words. I don't really know how to introduce it. I was just going to say dementia. You will know, because I've been doing these vlogs for a long time now, that my granddad, we lost him, when was it, in May? A year ago in May, wasn't it?
Yes.
And he'd suffered in the, how long do you think he'd suffered for?
About 5 years.
Before he died, with dementia.
Dementia plus Alzheimer's.
And
stroke Alzheimer's, sorry.
And we wanted to, Grandma has always said, you're always talking about it, aren't you, Grandma?
Yes.
You want to make everybody now
aware.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and what Grandma's gone through, and living with somebody with dementia as well. I can't even begin to imagine what it was like. Like, we've seen it from the outside, haven't we? But actually living with somebody, I think doesn't get spoken about
No,
much.
that's true.
I think as well, it helps, doesn't it, Grandma? And excuse me when I say this, but you're of sound mind, aren't you?
I hope so.
She is a bit crazy, a little bit crazy, aren't you, Grandma? Really? But I think because of the age that you get dementia as well, that it's very rare that people live with them.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? That
Very
is of
true.
sound mind, that
Yes.
can talk like this.
That's right.
So I wanted to do this, and Grandma won't mind doing this because she's always like, oh, I just want to ring Benzie, aren't you, Grandma?
That's correct.
She always wants to ring the radio and talk about it and stuff
That's
like
right.
that.
Which I shall do.
Yeah, you can do, and people will also see this, and yeah, hopefully take this on board, and just awareness in it, and
That's correct.
yeah,
yes.
that's what we're doing it for.
It's because people don't realise that I think it's an illness.
Mm.
And as an illness, you treat it as such. And I wish that the BBC would remake or re-show a film that I saw about 4 weeks ago, but stupid time of 11:15
On the night.
at night. And the film was called Grandad, Dementia and Me. Now, this was a young lad, I don't know how old he was, to be quite honest, but his grandparents had brought him up. And Grandad started with dementia. And they didn't really realise at first what it was, but realised there was something wrong. And then they got to know that it was dementia. How they didn't say that. But the wife, twice during the time that he was, you know, had dementia, she couldn't take it anymore. Unfortunately, he was a businessman, and they had money, and they had a villa. So the grandson sent the grandmother away.
Oh, did she?
Twice during the film. They kept saying to him if anything was going a bit funny, "You've got dementia, Grandad." Now, myself, I never ever mentioned that to Ted. Never. Don't mention that at all. Because he was so adamant, I haven't. You know, this has been a very brainy man, like my husband. So...
Yeah, he really was, wasn't he?
Yes,
really.
Absolutely. So anyway, and I want Ray to get a pen to paper.
That's my auntie, by the way.
Get the BBC to re-show this film, because it would help. And at the end of it, I can tell you why I think this. Okay. Now, whether Ted had a premonition or not time before, I don't know, whether he'd seen a programme. And he said to me, look, if ever I can't do anything for myself, will you promise me you won't put me in a home? So I said, well, while my legs and my head's working, Ted, no, I won't. And I didn't. I was with him right up to the end. But I'm a little bit in front of some people because I was a nurse. And as a nurse, you know, you get patience. And it needs a lot of patience.
How old are you, Grandma?
I'm 89.
89. 89 this woman is.
Well, I'm 90 in January.
90 like in a few months' time. And but you are of sound mind, aren't you?
Well, I'm hoping
like,
so.
No, you really are, because that's what I mentioned earlier. There are not, because people grow old together, don't they?
Oh,
and
yes.
I find it like that you're. It sounds really thingy. Some people just put them in a home, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
But not in a nasty way.
Absolutely.
Because they can't. They're not.
They don't understand
No,
it.
they don't understand it. They too are maybe getting on. They too maybe are poorly.
That's right.
Or something like that. So not everybody just puts them in a home, do they?
No.
But I think the majority do end up there, don't they? Because
they do.
Because of one reason or another. I'm going blind. Like totally, you know, out of anybody's control. But I just think that this is really a real story to tell because you've lived with him.
But you see, when you've lived with them, I mean, we'd been married 67 years, right? And you know all the habits, what they like, what they don't like, all right? Now, this boy, I don't know how old he was, as I say, but he didn't really have much of a clue as to how to cope with it. And all he kept saying to his granddad was, "You've got dementia, Grandad." And he was very, very cross and adamant, "I have not. I have not." But all he kept saying, when his wife went away twice during the film to the villa, where was his wife? That's all he kept asking for. And twice they had to put him into a home. Now what happened there, I've no idea because nothing was said about it, right? But you'll get my point at the end of this when I've finished. So they brought him back again, and then he got an aunt or someone in as well to help him. But it was quite difficult, you know, and as regards Ted, now I used to lie in bed, but I wasn't really asleep. I was always aware when there was movement, right? And I used to put my bedside lamp on because a few times you would go the wrong way round to the toilet. What bothered me was the stairs, but I thought, well, if I put a gate across there, he could fall over it, so that was out of the question. But he did seem to know in his house what he was doing, and he was happiest, weather permitting, in the garden. And he used to be in the garden. I don't think a weed dare come up when Ted walked out there, I'll be honest with you.
He knew it shrunk straight back down into the ground.
Absolutely. And they used to cut the grass, but then one day a little thing happened and he cut the lead and he was trying to put it together. And I had to, although I've only peripheral vision, I do very well with it.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. She can barely see. Well, you can't see right. I can't see.
I'm looking at Kirsty, but I can't see her face, right?
Yeah.
But I can see all my surroundings.
Yeah.
So I had to switch it off quickly, and then my grandson came and repaired it. After that, Ray used to help him mow the lawn, front and back. But the gardens always looked lovely.
Yeah.
They really did. They're a picture. But there again, that was just one thing. Another thing, Ray said, "How about a jigsaw, Mum?" So I brought one of his jigsaws down.
They used to love doing jigsaws.
Pulled the table out, and after so long, he just brushed it away Oh, I can't be bothered with that. So Ray had the bright idea of getting a jigsaw for children with the bigger pieces. Now, he used to go through these like nobody's business. But I used to encourage him, well, you know, if you were sat, anything you want to do, how about a jigsaw? If the weather was a bit iffy.
Yeah. He couldn't
So
get
he
out.
used to sit there, but he could do them all. This is what I'm trying to say. Nobody seems to know or realise that there is something going on in that head. We know the brain shrinks, but there is still something there. And when I tell the last story, you'll realise what I'm on about.
When you said about jigsaws as well though, Grandma, that goes on to, like, the kids used to do it with them, didn't they? The great-grandkids, like Zach and Harper used to do it with them. Lola and Imogen used to do it with them. The relationship that, I've said this before to you, haven't I? The relationship between, like, my granddad and an adult, you could see was strained, couldn't you?
Yes.
But the relationship between my granddad and a great-grandchild was just normal, wasn't it?
Well,
it was just... They could just seem to relate, couldn't they?
The thing is, they've got an affinity, I think, for children. This is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Because the girls used to say, when the grandchildren used to come in and the great-grandchildren, his face used to light up.
He used to sit down on the floor with them still, he used to play with them, he used to do the jigsaws with them. And yeah. Especially when Harper was a baby. When she was a baby and she couldn't talk and she couldn't really...
No.
It was just... like not like as if he was fine, wasn't it?
Oh, he was fine.
It was
no problem.
It's the relationship between children is unreal, really. With I think.
Well, I think
dementia
so
patients.
too. And also, one big thing, you know, I regret not doing, and that was getting him a dog. But the girls thought it was a bit silly in case I tripped over and fell, which. On one side, yes, I agree, but on another,
I can see why
I wish I could have done with it. And they said, well, what about walking? I said, I'd get a walker. You know, I'd let him out in the garden, I'd feed it. Anyway, that's beside the point. But anything that they like, if he likes cats, have a cat, have a little kitten. You know, something like that.
There'll be something, won't they?
The point is, occupy the mind as much as you can. Now, when it comes to television, there were things that Ted really liked, and that was, with him being in the RAF, it was war films, anything to do with planes. He used to like all the old Allo, Two Ronnies, and I used to have discs of these and replay them. And it got to the point where I said, I've never seen that before. But I used to sit and watch it with him. Yeah. Boring at times.
You'll know it word for word, will you?
That's right, absolutely. But, and then he used to go out at first. He used to go for walks because he did like to walk a bit. I was a bit bothered about this. So Janet, my youngest, she got printed, which I would advise anyone to do, his name, his address, telephone number, and nearest and dearest who to contact. And they were in a cellophane, waterproof. And I had half a dozen of those. And I always made sure at first, when he went out, he had one of these in his pocket. That is essential. One night, he was going to go downstairs. I said, well, what are you going down for? He said, I don't know. I said, oh, never mind. Come on then. So I coaxed him back into bed. And I realised, right, I've got to do something here. And what I did, I took the keys out of the doors and I had them in my dressing gown pocket. So he couldn't get out of the house, which was my main worry. This is as things progress. You know it's progressing. Well, of course, for so long, he drove a car.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
And twice he went through a red light. That was a warning for me. So I went to the doctors and took him to his own doctor, who he had a great, they were great pals actually.
Yeah.
Used to just swap holidays and things. And I wanted him to talk to him. And when he did, I think he must have noticed something, and we were referred to a psychiatrist. Then he was referred to a psychologist.
Was that initial conversation just a regular conversation though?
That was just a regular conversation. How are you?
Doing?
All that. Or holidays, everything else. So, but this was the only way I could get him to do something like that. Because he was a stubborn man, like the man in the film, very stubborn. And then I took him to the doctors eventually, my doctor, and I explained beforehand, and I said, I don't think he's safe driving. And she told him that he had to stop driving. Now, this went right against the grain. Oh, this really, really upset him. And of course, I was the Wicked Witch of the West, wasn't I? I got it in the neck. And sometimes, you know, he used to stand over me with his fists clenched. But I wasn't afraid. I knew him. I knew he wouldn't hit me. There are cases where it happens.
Yeah,
but I still think in that case, it's sheer frustration because they can't get out what they want, right? And eventually, as time went on, his conversation wasn't getting very good. We went to a funeral of my cousin. All the family were there. And he was going round them and he was saying, they told me, I'm sorry, I can't really talk to you properly. You know, that's a bit heartbreaking, really, but it happens. But one night, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I heard a sound, and he was so quiet with this. And I put my light on, and he was fully dressed. On top of his pyjamas, he had all his clothes on, his cap and everything. And I said, what are you doing, love? He said, I'm going home. I said, but you are home, love. I said, and I have a talking watch. And I said, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. No, you don't need that. But you never ever argue with them. Because this to me is what they seem to want. They want to get the frustration out. And the more you argue, the worse they become.
Yeah, the more that the frustration.
That's right, and I do think that often this is why they turn a bit violent. They lash out. They don't know what else to do. Don't forget, it's an illness. A lot of people don't realise. And he used to mooch around, what I used to call mooching. And then he would move things. Lift things up, move them somewhere. Of course, me with my sight, I couldn't always find what I wanted. And for example, I needed a tin opener. I only had one. I couldn't find it anywhere. Well, he hadn't hidden it actually. He'd just put it down where he thought it belonged.
Yeah.
And it was in a little, in my kitchen I have 3 shelves. And it was right at the back of the bottom shelf. I couldn't believe it, but there you go, that's what happened. I look back on things and I think, well, he didn't have really such a bad life because of his family. And this is what's needed, company. And, you know, but as I say, 2 of them were working. Ray was often here. And, pardon me, Ray did more for her dad than I can ever say. In lots of ways. She probably doesn't realise it, but she did. Which helped me, simply because of my sight. You see, if I could have seen, I'd have had him out there. I'd have walked with him. I'd have had him on a bus. I'd have gone around town with him. I'd have done all sorts, but I couldn't do it. But I was able to get the taxi and take him to the shops, which is all on the flat, which is good for me. And I used to say, can you tell me the curbs, Ted? And believe it or not, yes he could. 99 times out of 10 he could tell me where the curb was, so I didn't trip. Of course, as I say, with the company, that's the main thing. And also being in his own house. He knew the house. He knew how to go upstairs. He knew how to have a shower even.
Deep down.
There is something going on there all the time. And when you get to 88, you know, it's something that just comes automatically. And although I used to stand at the bottom of the stairs when he went for a shower, he did it. It was all right. It was fine. But he only had a shower when he felt like it. But you can't push it.
No.
You can't push it, so you just keep changing the sheets, you know, for one thing. Anyway, as I say, and for so long, he could read the paper. Then it got to the time where he would get the paper and he would be like a dyslexic. And I could see him run his fingers along the lines, trying to read them. And in the end, he got so frustrated, he said, I don't want that. I said, wow, look. He said, because there's too many adverts in. You know, so I said, oh, all I wanted it for was the television.
Yeah.
You know, which I use a magnifying glass for. Why I'm saying this is I must get Ray when she comes back at the weekend to put pen to paper, to write to the BBC, to re-show that film at a decent time of night. Now it's sad, but you get my point at the end of it. And at the end of that film, after he'd been in a home twice, his wife came back and said, it's no good, I've got to stay. I've got to stay. I think she thought it was far too much for a grandson. But all the time she was away, all he did was ask where she was. And the grandson used to say, oh, she's on holiday, Grandad. Oh, I hope she has a good time. Things like that, you know. And it can be a bit tiring at times. But he would eat whatever I gave him, because unfortunately he got to the point where he couldn't taste anything. And he said that he couldn't smell anything. Right.
But then there'd be something
so
that he could taste, though, couldn't he? I can't remember what it was.
To be able to say this even, as time went on, as he was getting worse, you know. You know, this is the biggest point I make. There's something there. I mean, I could go on and on and on, you know, but I just went about the business of the house and cooking, and, you know, I could still cook. I used to make him scones, which I know he loved, like the kids did. But one day, he went upstairs, came down again, but he quite often fell asleep. I think this is part of the illness, right? And age, of course, 88. I mean, I nod off sometimes. I can't help it sometimes at night time. But anyway, I went upstairs and I made sure he was asleep. And on the ottoman in the window, there was a carrier bag. And I thought, oh. So Ted had his own wardrobe. You know, it's a triple one. But the shelves at the top I could never reach to clean or anything. But he always saw to his own clothes. Oh, for long enough.
Yeah.
And all right, they didn't always match when he put them on. But
always smart.
I don't think mine do, actually, with my sight, but never mind, I don't care anymore. And I put my hand in and I drew this sock out. And I thought, oh, I felt it, looked at it, the side, and it was a football sock. And at first I thought it was Ted's old gear. I used to play football, but it wasn't. It was Peter's, our little boy that died when he was 9. Took the rest out. Socks were there, shin pads, little boots and his shirt. and
You're
I brought...
making me cry.
Oh, stop it, stop it. But I didn't say anything when I came down, and he never said anything at all. Now, this is what makes me think. He wanted me to find that, right? I'm convinced of this, and this was when he was quite bad. He needed me to find it. So, of course, when the girls came, and Lynn took them, and she washed them, and she pressed his shirt, and Keith went and polished his little boots, and she brought them back to me, and I said, I don't know what to do, Lynn. And then I said to Ray, I said, look, go and ask the funeral director if we can put them in with Ted, because I think that was a message to me. As bad as he was, that was a message. I'm fully convinced of this. That's what I'm trying to get through to everybody. Yeah. There is something there. When we first went to see him, the 3 girls and I, they let me stand first. And then I sat down at the side while the 3 girls were talking to Dad. And the lights, there's a set of lights above me and a set of lights above the coffin. And the set of lights above me just flickered. So, oh, maybe something wrong with the bulbs. But the day before Ted's funeral, Janet and I went to see Dad, and we took with them Pete's things, and she did it. I couldn't do it. I can't see for one thing, but she put them in, and hand on heart, there was a set of lights above the coffin, and they flickered. Jan turned round, and I said, that's Dad saying thank you. Mm. You know? I'm sure. Sorry. But this is what I'm trying to point out to somebody. There's something there in the brain. And it doesn't matter how bad they get. He never knew the girls' names or Kirsty's, children. He didn't know. But he knew mine. And he went up to the toilet after he'd had an operation for a hernia. And toward the end, they collapsed 3 times, but we sorted that. We managed that all right, and he was fine. But the last one was the worst one. And his last word was, bet. But I won't go into detail about that because it's a bit too upsetting. And Ted had had a stroke. And that was it. In hospital, and it took 3 days. And funnily enough, it took 3 days for Pete. So 3 in my life.
3 days, what you
3
said,
in my life is predominant, if you like.
Yeah.
I was born on the 13th on a Friday. My youngest grandson was born on the 13th, not on a Friday, of course.
On your birthday, wasn't it?
Anything with a 3 in it, or divisible by 3. Ted's birthday was on the 23rd.
My 2 were 3 days late, was 3 days overdue, both of them.
Yeah. So everything in my life runs round the 3 or something divisible by 3. You know, and I don't know, it's strange. But as I say, I think that if you possibly can, this is my point all along, to try and keep them in their own environment. It's hard, and if you know what they like, what they don't like, but please don't argue with them. Talk to them by all means. If they want to argue, put your point gently. Don't go at them, you know, like really annoyed. Please don't get annoyed at them. If you're annoyed, walk out. And because that's what I had to do. And twice, and I could bite my tongue now when I think about it, I did say to Ted, I'm sorry, Ted, I'm tired, I can't do it. And he would sit, just sit. And I used to think, oh, you bitch, you bitch. But then, after a little while, he would come round and he would kneel in front of me, hold my hand and say, sorry, Bet. What do you do? Yeah. But, as I say, all I want is a bit of loving care. You know? And
You did good though, Grandma.
And company, if possible. I know it isn't possible with some people. If they're on their own, people are out of town, and it's very lonely. But sometimes they can get carers in. That's
what I was going to say. Can you get carers?
They are there. You know, they can come in and they can talk to them. It's help out there. But, you know, some people are a bit proud, Kirsty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I didn't need it because I was fortunate. I had a lovely family, you know, and there's plenty of us. So I think Ted had it pretty good. But I'll be honest with you, when it happened, I was on my own at first all night on the Sunday night. I sent the girls home. They were absolutely shattered. And Jana had to go to work the next morning. But she said, I'll come in before I go to work, Mum. She did. And she shouted, Mum. So I went round the bed and not being able to see his face, I put my cheek near his mouth to see if I could feel any breath. And he just went, puh. That was it. I called the staff nurse, took his BP, and I don't know whether she said like that to Janet or what she said, but and she just said, I'm sorry. That was it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't wish him back. No way. No. Really and truly. I'm not grieving like I should do. I feel guilty, but I can't help it because he wouldn't want it back.
Yeah.
He wouldn't want to come back in that state. He was a proud man. And as I say, if you can occupy them, you know what they like, what they don't like. Play on that. And as I say, for television, he could watch it over and over again and still say he hadn't seen it before. You know, which I used to smile like, you know, but it was difficult for me in a lot of ways because I couldn't see his face. I couldn't see if he was cross or, apart from his actions, I couldn't see if he was cross or upset, or which upset me often. But I couldn't do anything about it.
But you was here. You was here for him.
But I was here for him. And as I say, to say that he only knew my name, right to the end, that's the only name he ever knew, which makes you think it's because I'm with him 24/7. And he's in his own. He's in his own home.
Yeah.
With his own surroundings.
Familiar.
Now you put them in a home, and you know I don't know.
You take that away, do you?
Yeah, you're taking everything away from them. They are lost souls. Honest to God, they're lost.
It's a whole new environment, isn't it, to somebody that's already like struggling with other things, and then you put them in.
That's right, and then of course they see other people in there, which are at different stages of dementia,
and that they've never seen before in their lives.
And they can't understand it.
No.
This is the problem.
I didn't know though that you could get people in. That's a good thing. I didn't know that.
Oh, you can get carers.
I didn't know that you could get
There's a lot of care in the community, you know. I know it's difficult at the moment with the money situation and everything else.
But if they haven't got somebody, if they haven't got family,
that's right.
or not family that, because like you say, like Auntie Lane and my mum worked, didn't she?
Yes.
Like, so, but Auntie Ray, as you say, was able to do that and come and
I was
every
lucky.
day. Yeah.
I was so lucky. With Ray being a widow, bless her, she was available.
Mm.
But I do try, now Ted's gone, not to rely on them too much. And they think I'm a stubborn old mule because I like to think, well, while I can do it, I will do.
Mm.
And you let them do what they can do themselves.
Mm.
Ted used to always dress himself. You know, and then the girls would say, Mum, that jumper wants washing. Or
Yeah.
that it needs that shirt changing and things like that, you know. Not in front of him, of course.
Mm.
And, but we managed, you know. We did very well, actually.
You
I
did.
think.
You did. I think you did really well.
Yes.
I think you did.
But as I say, this film is an education, and at the end of it, the end of the film is where they take him to the villa and he's in the pool and he's laughing,
Happy as Larry.
happy. And in fact, you know, sometimes, you know, as time went on and it was getting worse, if I showed him the two Ronnies or a Lolo, all those type, you know, and Morecambe are wise, well, I mean, there's one scene where the kitchen scene, and he laughs.
Mm.
There's something there, love. I don't care how bad they are. You know, as I say, Kirsty told me one time she heard that someone had given a lady a doll.
Yeah.
And she was happy with that doll.
And that's where the relationship with the children, I think.
That-
Because I'd said to
oh,
you that
definitely,
relationship was
definitely.
just unreal, like
Yeah,
what the kids
I
had
mean-
and the babies had and stuff like that.
Not forgetting that some of them don't have little children.
No, but yeah,
Ted was
this
lucky.
lady got given a doll and she was just
She
a
just used to
different
play
person.
with it. Yes.
Yeah, she was a different person.
She's lost in another world.
Yeah.
So
But yeah.
I hope that's sufficient.
That was lovely,
Kez.
Grandma. That was
Are you
lovely.
sure?
Yeah, it was lovely, yeah. I thought there'd be a few tears, so sorry about this. I'm a little bit red. But thank you, Grandma. I appreciate it. See you later. Bye.
Love you all. Bye.